Coming around the curve here, I want you to try to imagine that it's 1915. You've just gotten off your 6-day work week, gone to church in the morning, now you've got your picnic lunch. You're taking the trolley car out to a place called the Trolley Park. And this is our trolley park coming up. It's called Talbot Park. You can see that there's all sorts of great amusements and wonderful things for people to do on a beautiful Sunday such as this. Not really a whole lot here, is there? Oh, we're talking 1915. Life moved a lot slower back then. But this is something that people would have done pretty much every weekend all across the country. There were over 2,000 of these little trolley parks spread across the United States at the height of their popularity. Today there are only a handful left in operation. Who's familiar with Canopy Lake Park in Salem, New Hampshire? All right, so we got a couple of local folks. Canopy Lake is actually one of less than 10 trolley parks that are still operating. It was founded in 1902 by the Massachusetts Northeastern Street Railway and served the people of the Haverhill-Lawrence area, the people that worked in the mills up there. But this was your Sunday recreation. You come out here, Mom would have the picnic lunch, you get off the trolley car, have your picnic, maybe there'd be a band playing, maybe there'd be a concession stand, something along those lines, and then you'd hop back on the trolley car, take it back home. Sound fun? Not really, does it? Well, that was pretty much the evaluation that the trolley parks got after a few years of operation. People got bored. So the trolley parks said, well, we got the electric power out here. We have a bunch of old motors from scrap trolley cars, controllers, things like that. Why don't we start putting in amusement rides? We can move people like this, or we can move them like this. And then eventually they got roller coasters and kind of did that. But that was the start of most of your older amusement parks were either directly started by a trolley company or had trolley service at one time. And this was the way people got around. You have to remember, 1915, the Model T Ford is still considered a new invention. It's only been out for 7 years. So not a lot of people have cars. They're starting to become more common. But for the vast majority of folks living in cities, this trolley car is going to be how you get around. This is a fairly typical car from that period. They're lightweight. They're designed to be as cheap on electricity as possible and cheap to run as possible, because this is the era when the trolley companies are really starting to feel the hurt from people driving their own cars. Now, why wouldn't you just walk? Why would you even bother with a trolley car at all? Well, that's what people did. Before the street railways existed, you were pretty much limited to the 5 or 10 miles around where you were born. You typically lived and died within that 5 or 10 mile radius. People could not move around as easily. You were either walking or taking the horse, pretty much. If you were lucky, there was a steam train going your way, but those were kind of expensive on every single day. So most people stayed pretty close to their family farm or the building that they lived in. Now, let's say it's 1885, 1886. The electric trolley car is starting to come on the scene. That opens up a world of possibilities for people. These cars will do 25 miles an hour flat out. Back around the turn of the century, the decade shortly after, that was still considered to be very high speed. In fact, some people thought if you went faster than about 30 miles an hour, you would go free. Get them out to the trolley car and put them on the roller coaster. They'll have no problem getting back on the trolley car at the end of the day. But this was how people got around, and it was, for its time, a technological marvel. These things are powered by electricity, they're heated with electricity, they're lit with electricity. So people would come to the trolley parks to see the light bulbs. Who wants to go, on a 30-minute trolley car ride to go see an electric light bulb? Sound interesting? Well, that was high tech for the day. In 1915, you might not have had electricity in your house, you might not have had running water in your house. Maybe you knew somebody who did, but this was still sort of disseminating throughout people's homes and things like that. This was very high tech. Come out to the trolley park and you have hundreds of electric light bulbs just to draw people in. Come see this miracle that we artists have put to use. And that's exactly what they did. The trolley lines were built out to these trolley parks basically through the middle of nowhere. So the only way you can get out here is on the trolley car. More money in the street railway's pocket. But as you're coming out to the trolley park, maybe you might see a house along the right of way, a sign that says build your house here, something like that. Well, think about where you would have probably been living at the time. If you lived in the city, you probably would have lived in some sort of tenement style building with quite a few other people in 1 or 2 rooms. You might have had one toilet for the entire floor. Imagine what that would have been like. Now, okay, I can live 5 miles outside of the city, 10 miles outside of the city, have my own house, have a detached yard, maybe have a garage, something like that. People took off with this idea. Live outside of the city. We don't want to live where it's crowded and smelly, horse-drawn traffic. You can imagine what the streets must have been like. This was the start of our suburbs. People think of suburbs and amusement parks and things like that being innovations of the automobile. The trolley car was really what started both of those movements here in the United States. Now, the line that we came up over was an actual operating trolley line. Excuse me. It was what was known as the Atlantic Shoreline Railway. This was their northernmost branch. The ASL on this section ran from Biddeford in the north down to Kennebunkport. From Kennebunkport, you could connect to other Atlantic Shoreline cars as well as other trolley systems. You could go from just north, actually, of Portland, Maine, as far down south past Washington, D.C. by just changing trolley cars. That was the extent of the street railway network around the time that this car was built. In fact, I think it was 1924. The street railways, if you took everything that they did, so the people that built the cars, the people that built the rails, all the other stuff that goes with running a trolley line, the people that ran the cars, they were the 3rd largest employer in the United States. They earned just under $2 billion in revenue, and this was 1924, 1923 money. This was a very, very significant industry that touched parts of everybody's life during that time period. Does anybody have any questions? I have a question. This is sort of the audience participation part of our show. Would anybody like to try ringing a 103-year-old trolley bell? Children of all ages are welcome. Some of our most enthusiastic bell ringers have been being a kid for 50 years. So.
We have to grow up.
I'm trying not to. I'm certainly not growing any taller. You're welcome.
Right there. That one right there. There is no age limit. No age limit.
I'm sorry. we go.